So you got Miles Teller playing son of Goose, son of Goose. But here's the thing: they dress him and style him exactly like his dad. So he's got a mustache like his dad.
Mhm.
He wears open Hawaiian shirts like his dad. He wears exactly the same aviator shades as his dad. And there's even a scene, and again, minor spoilers, even a scene in which Maverick is like, oh my God, that's the son of Goose. I don't know if I can talk to him. And son of Goose sits down at a piano at the bar and starts
no.
playing Great Balls of Fire.
Okay.
And once again, I'm like, I do not know anyone who dresses exactly like their father and like has the same party tricks as their dad. Like, to me, that's almost as weird as having not changed your personality in 40 years like Maverick.
To style your entire being on your dead
Your
father.
dead father, who you barely knew, by the way. You're only like 3 or 4 when he died.
All you know is like 5 iconic moments from his life: that he was like a pilot, that he knew Great Balls of Fire on the piano, he loved Hawaiian shirts. Yeah, that's like, I mean, that's like, this is a movie that needs a therapist. This is what I'm hearing. There's a lot of people here.
VK turned to me at one point and was like, is this a parody? Like, it feels like a parody of the original Top Gun. It all felt like a Hot Shots movie in a way. Like, there was so many kind of coincidences and like the fan service and stuff. And everyone's sort of like, oh yeah, but you know, what about the flying sequences? Yeah, I mean, like, if you had not told me that the actors went up there for real and stuff, I would have been quite content to think they were in a studio somewhere in front of a green screen in like a cockpit. Like, I don't think it added that much to the film, that like, because essentially the camera is still locked off in one position. All you're getting, the only difference between this and the film from '87 is the actors' faces do this when they hit real G-forces, which to me, I'm like, okay, I guess that's cool, but it doesn't make me go, wow, like these flying sequences are so much better because an actor's face is going like that.
I mean, you mostly just have to watch award shows in Hollywood to see actors' faces go like that. So you're right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
totally.
Don't need to see Top Gun. Do you think, so how old was Son of Goose? Like, was
like late 20s is meant to be.
Yeah, so how old was he then when Goose died? Was he just like a baby?
That makes
Was
sense.
like Meg
You're
Ryan
right.
pregnant?
I don't know if the timing works
like, what's
out.
what's the timeline on that?
Well, hang on. So when was the original Top Gun made?
Because how long later? Like, did they have a baby in the original?
Yeah. So because they do a flashback where you see. Okay, so Top Gun was made in 1986. So what does that make? That 26 years old, 36 years old.
Yeah.
So, or maybe he's in his 30s then.
Yeah.
I like. Let's be generous. Let's say that Son of Goose was 6 when Goose died, and he's 30 now.
Now, I don't mean that,
lines
that I don't mean this in an insensitive way. If you think that if your dad had died when you were 6, do you think that there was any possibility that you might have stole your life on what you knew about your dad? Like,
my dad died when I was 10.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's not,
and I have plenty of, it's not miles off.
No.
It's plenty of references. He was a dentist. He had a mustache. He liked to wear sweater vests. He liked a good cardigan. He smoked a pipe occasionally. I'd say apart from the mustache, which I only very rarely dip into, there's nothing I have styled my life on about my father. And I certainly haven't played Great Balls of Fire. Like, I don't remember my father. He wasn't really that musical, but I remember him dancing to the Village People once, putting on a Village People record and dancing around. But I have not done that. I mean, it seems like, I think there would be, if you had a friend.
Okay, so yeah, if your friends, if you started doing that, like if around 10, like, because, I mean, that's still a very young age to lose your father. And like, all sorts of behaviors can manifest around that. And I'm sure people will be incredibly sensitive around how like a kid wants to remember, their parent that they've just lost. So you start doing a few things. You start wearing a knitted top, you know what I mean? You start
I've got like one of those dentist kind of like surgical kind of smock things.
You just start looking at people's teeth, asking them to open their mouth, that sort of thing.
A little pipe, walking around, 10-year-old going around with a pipe.
Like, how long do you think your family would have indulged that? Do you think they would have been supportive of that? Would they have just been like, oh, well, that's just Charlie processing what's going on?
Like, I think I think any family would be supportive of it, but there would also be a question of, is this healthy?
Right. So what point? That's what I was going to say.
Is this a phase?
What point does it get to? Because then suddenly you decide, I'm going to be a dentist. Like, I'm just following now the Son of Goose story, right? Like, this is not just him trying to, learning great balls of fire on the piano so he can remember his dad. This is literally him going, I am going to replicate the entire life of my father.
He wears open Hawaiian shirts. He has the same aviator shades and the same mustache. I mean, Miles Teller does look like Anthony Edwards when you put him side by side, but it is strange. Like fashion, I don't even know that the fashion like is predictable enough that like there must have been a period in the early 2000s where he wasn't dressing like his dad, right? Where he would have been all pocket chains and fucking like caramel tips and
do you think that he dressed as his dad as a teenager? Like,
or did he? No, I mean, because that's what I'm saying is like it sort of times out now with fashion because the 80s you could argue mustaches are back, but what was he doing prior to that? Like, did he sort of sit? Did Son of Goose just sit there go like, mate, when mustaches and aviator shades are back, I'm owning it. I've been practicing Great Balls of Fire for 20 years. Finally going to bust it out at a bar.
Or did he? So there's two choices here: that he's like leaned into his dad's later life look and always kind of had that fashion choice. So as soon as he could grow a mustache, he grew a mustache. As soon as he could own a Hawaiian shirt, he bought a Hawaiian shirt. Or he's following his dad's fashions from those periods of his dad's life. So he's gone back through like what a teenage Goose was wearing. And so when he was a teenager, he wore what a teenage Goose was wearing. And we've just caught up with him at the time that he's wearing and looking exactly the same as his. I mean, this is a creepy fucking like. Is that creepy, discussed at all in the movie? Is there ever a point of going, "Hey man, live your own life. Stop being in the shadow of your dead dad"? Is there like a storyline around that at all?
There is one moment where, so the kids, all the new young Top Gun recruits, they're all in the classroom, or whatever, and they're looking at the trophy cabinet, and they see a collection of photos of the original flight team. So there's Mav and Goose, and they put two and two together, but not one character goes, "Oh my God, look at." Oh, sorry, Goose's son's name is Rooster, by the way. His code name, his flight. What do you call it? Code name?
I feel like that's too far away for a guy who's stole his entire. It should be Gooster.
It should have been Gosling. No, it should have been Gosling. Ryan Gosling, and they should have cast Ryan Gosling. But there is that moment where they look at Anthony Edwards as Goose.
How did they not cast Ryan Gosling as the Son of Goose? Like, how did Hollywood? Surely that had to have come up in a meeting. Just like, guys, is this too on the nose? Ryan Gosling, Son of Goose.
So they do see them together, but you'd expect one character to go, holy shit, like he looks... Yeah. I mean, I was around at my mate's place last week and I saw a photo of him with his father, when he was a little boy. And the first thing I said was, oh my God, like you look exactly like your father. It's amazing. But not one character comments on the fact that not only does he physically look like his father, but he dresses exactly the same as his father.
Exactly the same.
I mean, if you had to dress now like your dad did 30 years ago, what would you be wearing, you think?
My dad almost exclusively has work clothes. So, like, I've never really... I mean, he has the smallest amount of, like, what you'd consider to be, like, formal clothes or uniform clothes. Like, really the bare minimum you could possibly have. I think I've only seen him in a tie a couple of times in his entire life. I mean, he's a dairy farmer, right? So, like, the most iconic thing that I would see him in, if I was going to dress like... particularly in the sort of Goose way, if I was going to dress like my dad, pair of gumboots. So I'm starting...
Oh, God, this should be your new stage outfit. Go on.
A pair of gumboots, some sort of like resilient, loose-fitting, partly waterproof pant, like that is
like waders,
kind of waders-esque, but not like quite as plasticky, but like somewhere in between like work pants and waders, like a kind of midpoint. For any sort of like water splash or animal splash that you might need, then very much a loose fitting collared t-shirt So, one of those old school sort of like collared t-shirts that has a couple of buttons, a polo
like
top
a polo
type thing,
yeah,
but very much like not a formal sort of polo top, very much a working polo top. And
not like a Ralph Lauren one. No, like a Ralph Lauren or polo symbol on the pocket or anything. It's not like a pink. One of those pink Tommy Hilfiger.
No, very much.
Your dad's not rocking.
Very much for working, and then maybe like a knitted jumper, like an actual knitted jumper. Yeah.
I was trying to think of so my dad would have his kind of work clothes before, like not this surgical stuff, but I remember when I did work experience when I was 16, because we still had a lot of dad's wardrobe hanging around. And I had to find a suit because I think I was going to a law firm to do some work experience. And I found the only suit I could find that fit me, a suit jacket, was like this tweed. It was like a tweed jacket with kind of like brown elbow patches, like classic English professor kind of look. I remember getting on the train and my mates just mocking me mercilessly because I was like a 16-year-old in what would have been a 50 guy in his mid-50s, like a tweed jacket. So there'd be that kind of more formal look. But then, he was often in kind of chunky knit sweaters with grey trousers and just the cheapest Clark's leather shoes. So if I was going to be my dad now, and I'm probably about 10 years off where my dad was when I passed away, I would be wearing the chunky knit sweaters, grey trousers, and then just some no-name brand Clark's leather loafers. I'm actually thinking, I don't mind that look. It seems comfortable.
I mean, my dad's dressing like my dad would have been handy going to Splendor in the Grass. It would be a very practical, for that sort of circumstance. But my dad doesn't have any affectations in the way that so no pipe or whatever, or mustache, that you can kind of go, oh, this is definitely him leaning into this look. If I had to replicate my dad's look, mostly I'd probably have to shave off my hair. Because my dad now is at that point where he had, the receding hair and he's gone kind of the buzz cut up top. So that would be the direction I would have to lean into to kind of replicate.
But the thing of what Top Gun is saying is it's a specific period. It's whenever your father made the biggest impression on you.
Oh, that's true. Because it's it's different for me because my dad's still
not
alive.
Now.
He didn't die at some point and get immortalized in my memory. You know what it would be probably then? I'd probably dress in cricket clothes. If my dad had died when I was about 10, I would probably entirely dress in cricket whites because that would be the iconic memory. The memory I have of my dad, I don't really acknowledge the kind of farming look to be his look, but I remember spending weekends watching him play cricket. So I think, if he died at age 10, I probably would have just walked around in cricket pads and a helmet at all times, just going, no, I'm cool. Just trying to remember Dad.
To see the full video, join our Patreon.
Patreon.com/Tofop.